Hello, everybody. Welcome to another daily dose of gaming news and all that good stuff. And as always, I also publish on Rumble, Patreon, and anything else I usually go about on Twitter X. Tomorrow we'll be having a Death Stranding episode. Um, it's been a wild ride. I've been enjoying very much. I did manage to get some episodes now. I think I'm basically halfway through the game, kind of in the main story. But I'm trying to do more of the order stuff there to try and at least make um, trying to reach the all the 5 stars in all the shelters and the main hubs, plus do at least one time delivery to get the I don't know the complete not completionist but the S ranking at least in each order as best as I can, and it's been a wild ride. The systems there. Just a quick kind of review per se. A lot of stuff reminds me in certain ways in terms of gameplay loops, very similar to oh my god, Metal Gear Solid 5, Phantom Pain. Especially the menus work, how the terms of deliveries is very similar. How you select the missions on Metal Gear Solid, it's got a kind of that same feeling per se, and the fact that you have already the map, it's used in a very clever way, let's say, with all the mule territories and the terrorist territories and all that jazz. I'm really enjoying that. And I think from what I played so far, the main story it can be a little bit all over the place, let's say. But I think it's more about world setting up Death Stranding 1, because from what I understand, Death Stranding 2 is going to be focused a little bit more on the story and trying to expand also some stuff in the world there. But yeah, some concepts very interesting. I'm really enjoying this series very much. But yeah, other than that, we already have some completed gameplay series here, just as a reminder, 4K and 1080p. I will leave it to that for you to choose if you want to catch up on any of those. So let's go for the news. Similarly, NVIDIA trying to, it's not evade, but trying to comply with the sanctions, restrictions, all of this shit show, is now trying to launch 5090 double D. I don't know, double dipping. I don't know for what the double D stands for, because the original 4090D and supposedly the 5090D is it was supposed to meaning the year of the dragon, which it's not. We are not already in the year of the dragon. Again, I'm sorry, I don't know which year of Chinese calendar it is at this moment. But I think that meaning pass through meaning other stuff like a cut down version of, in this case, the higher hand GPU there. Um, Supposedly it's going to be cut down. Again, this is kind of a rumor, but again, I'm not surprised if this coming out eventually, because again, China market is very huge, especially for Nvidia, given all the AI stuff there. Even though Chinese are able to circumvent a lot of stuff here through various means and ways. Uh, Again, it's a huge market for Nvidia, and I saw some comments from Jensen Yuan. Again, Nvidia is very dependent on the Chinese market, and if really American companies really want to stay on top of things, they really need to stop playing these stupid games, which in the long term is kind of a stupid game, trying to stifle, especially on the Chinese market, because the Chinese, little by little, every year, they are doing a lot of stuff in house, and they will eventually break through and start being way more competitive, mainly because of the market that they have in terms of manufacturing and also the engineering bulk of the Chinese is pretty huge. I think at this moment, what they have in terms of being stifled in terms of competition is mainly hardware stuff there in terms of manufacturing the high-end bleeding edge machines, the ones that usually I think Netherlands company, I completely forgot the name of that company, usually manufactures these high-end UV machines or IV machines, again, that are used specifically on TSM. Again, I think it's a matter of, I don't know, a handful of years, 5 to 10 years, that they will blow up on the market, and then everybody will start buying from them, because when they crack the code, they just flood the market with their own stuff there. Interesting enough, for example, in terms from the mobile market, the gadget markets, we got, for example, a huge company that I think it's blocked on the United States, which is Xiaomi. Again, it's all over the place everywhere, even UAE, in terms of the cell phone market and modems and infrastructure, telecommunications. Again, they are huge companies all over the world, but again, because they've been blocked in the United States, they had to circumvent and do their things in their own way. Again, political stuff aside, again, I think eventually Chinese will have their own GPUs and all this, especially on the AI stuff there. They will eventually break the code in terms of the hardware and the software, and they will eventually will not need American companies to do so. And I think it's a long strategy failure, especially for the government of the United States, doing this kind of imposing sanctions and trying to stifle in a very aggressive way. I think they could maintain a presence and maintain a supremacy, let's say, of the technology area if they are able to, I don't know, going about in another ways. But that's another ramble, and I don't want to ramble too much on this one. But yeah, supposedly we'll have a double D 5090, which is cut down in terms of memory. Also, instead of 32 gigabytes, we'll have around 24 gigabytes of VRAM, and I assume in terms of AI inference and I don't know, teraflops or whatever they are called there, it will have a little bit less, I assume, in terms of power there, because of again those restrictions that are affecting Nvidia in the Chinese market there. We'll have to wait and see if this is for real or not, but I will not surprise this. Again, Nvidia will try to do anything they can to maintain a presence on the Chinese market, because it is a huge market. Almost basically 1.5 billion people, potential customers. Again, it's an invaluable market for Nvidia. And also, of course, on the corporate side of things. Then we got here from AMD side of things. Supposedly, somebody managed to activate FSR4 on the 7,000 AMD GPUs, so RDNA3. Um, Again, this was done supposedly on Linux, the Reddit post that this user did. It did a lot of testing and got some benchmarks. Again, the extensive testing was made in Cyberpunk. Which other game? Um, I'm sorry, the Oblivion remaster, and then Marvel Rivals. Again, there seems to be a way of break the code, let's say, but I think one of the reasons that AMD still not officially launched FSR4 for RDNA3 or all the GPUs is the fact that there is a huge loss in terms of frames per second, even though the image is improved comparatively to FSR 3.1, even in older GPUs. It seems that there is a loss, again, in the case of Cyberpunk, the user test at 4K, they managed to get around 56 frames per second with FSR4 enabled versus 85 FPS with FSR 3.1. As you can see, there is huge hit in the terms of the frame rates, but the image quality is improved. So there is a trade-off here. Again, I think it has to do with the fact that how the architecture between RDNA3 and RDNA4 is done, and the fact that FSR4 takes advantage more of the AI capabilities of RDNA4. Then again, we don't have basically any on the RDNA3. I don't know how it is trying to use RDNA3 compute power. I assume it's on the sorry, on the, oh my god, on the shader stuff there, the engine shaders. That's why we have a hit in terms of FPS. But then again, there is an increase quality on the image itself, which is very interesting. So technically, supposedly, this is possible. This was done, the extensive testing on Linux, not on Windows. But from what I understand, it can be done on Windows. Again, Windows is a little bit more bloated system, so there is a lot of stuff that can interfere on this kind of testing, I suppose. And the fact that Linux usually is more friendly to AMD, let's say, and Radeon hardware and software, because it's better implemented there than, for example, NVIDIA. But yeah, it's very interesting to see that even though there is limitations of RDNA3, it is technically possible to use FSR4 on older GPUs. I think, and given this is the high end, so the 7900 XTX, which was done this testing, I think if AMD can, I don't know, market this as again, okay, it's technically possible, but expect some losses in terms of frames per second, even though you can achieve a little bit of image quality regarding FSR. Again, given the 7900 XTX, again, given that this FSR4 is upscaling, I think it is possible to reach playable frame rates if you tweak enough with FSR4, or maybe they're still trying to do some final tweaks so they can announce something official from I don't know, back support FSR4 on all the GPUs, but I think it will be very limited if they manage to launch this to basically RDNA3, mainly because of the compute power of the RDNA2 is less than the RDNA3 and so on. I think we will be kind of backwards compatibility with this technology stuck on RDNA3, if that much. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see if, given that this at this moment technically possible to use this, we'll have to wait and see how this will go. And then on other news, Marathon was delayed, even though PlayStation was. We got I covered this like a couple of days ago. Element Host and all those guys doing the things for the investors, saying that Marathon is a go ahead and all that jazz. Yeah, I found it a little fishy, because again, the last big stuff that happened with Marathon is again, it's not a, it doesn't seem a good game as an extraction shooter. The alpha test that they did, the closed beta test or closed alpha test, didn't go that well. The feedback is not that good, and the fact that they had the stolen assets stuff there again. They said they will resolve this with the artist where they stole the art from, but I will assume they will try to, I don't know, redo a lot of the art to try to avoid any kind of situation there. And again, there is supposedly has to be a lot of tweaking in the gameplay systems for it to be a serviceable game. At least that's my perception of this. Again, I'm not don't follow too much this because again, multiplayer games is not for me. But again, this affects more the company itself than just this specific game, and the fact that PlayStation is still on track, at least according to them, to continue and diversify their multiplayer or live service games, which I don't think is the best long-term strategy, because if you start launching live services left and right, you will start competing with yourself, not only with the competition from other companies, you start competing with yourself in terms of the offerings that you have, especially in live service games. Again, it's that very close-minded mentality of supposedly low investment risks with the possibility of high reward in terms of the revenue there because of microtransactions and all that jazz. But again, there is a lot of stuff happening here in terms of games as service. People only have 24 hours of the day. They need to rest. A lot of people work, and then within the couple of hours, sometimes people have to play a game. They have a preferable, they have a preferred choice of game to play, and if it is involves games as a service, they will stick with usually one game. And when you try to compete with time for your customers, you really need to come up with something that is a banger and not a whimper like Marathon it seems to be. But yeah, that's it regarding PlayStation. And on Xbox, again, this is rumored for I don't know how many times. They already announced the handheld game with Asus, which has AMD, the new APUs from AMD in terms of the handheld stuff there, and they announced that they're going to continue the multi-year, multi-platform, whatever they are calling there, to between Xbox and AMD to power the next console generation, and probably, I don't know, uh, kind of the PC thing there. I don't know if they're going to try and enter the market in that thing, even though I don't think it's well worth it. And probably the next handheld will also be AMD chip. Again, this is good for AMD. Given that they have basically the monopoly of consoles, with the exception of Nintendo Switch. Again, they have the two big ones basically, which is the PlayStation and Sony. Sorry, PlayStation and Xbox as their kind of little playground. Again, hopefully this will have some good implications in the sense that the hardware can be sufficiently powerful to a point that we can see that the end of 8 gigabytes discrete GPUs forever. At least on 1080p, even on 1080p, we see some of them don't work very well. But yeah, in terms of long term, again, this is the continuation of the AMD strategy of managing to deliver a very high volume of hardware for the needs of these companies, it seems. We'll have to wait and see how the specs are for the next Xbox generation and also for the PlayStation 6 when it comes out. Again, it's of notice that supposedly Xbox is going to not having a mid-generation refresh on the hardware, which is interesting, given that the Xbox Series X, so the weaker version of the current generation of consoles, is a disaster. We've been seeing a lot of games not being launched on Xbox ecosystem, mainly because of the fact that the Series S cannot keep up in terms of processing power in some games. I think Celebrate was one of them, but like other games, again, the way that you have to cut down in terms of image quality and all of the tweaks that you have to do to make it playable on that console specifically really does hurt a little bit the Xbox stuff there in terms of having more accessible games. I don't know why they did a weaker console there, even though supposedly it's cheaper. Again, I don't think it compensates that. And the fact that also if you launch on the Xbox platform, it has to be playable on that specific console, which only aggravates the situation for them. And then lastly, we got, again, we're going to see for sure Xbox Game Pass and PlayStation Plus prices uplift. They already did last year, especially on the Xbox Game Pass. They increased 25% last year. I think we might see the same trend right about, I don't know, after the summer of this year, or I don't know. This comes after there is a new line of code recently spotted on xCloud website with the notification limited subscription price increase. Again, it's pretty self-explanatory there. Again, I'm not surprised. Again, the model itself theoretically is good for the consumers because supposedly for a small fee or for a small monthly fee, you get access to a huge library of games and you can take advantage of that. So instead of buying all the games that you want to play, you just use that monthly fee to access all the games and play it as you wish. Even though you don't own any of the games, you just have access to play those games. But on the side of Xbox, it's can be a good deal if they have enough users paying for that fee. But at the end, the need of having a huge amount of games catalog on that service really does hurt the single sales. For example, I don't know, Starfield, which supposedly, or a big game, I don't know, like Oblivion Remaster, the Indiana Jones games. Again, if you let users use the subscription service to access that game, you only gaining, I don't know, $15 or so out of that, which is not that, but even given the best circumstances, if you even get $15 from each user, to have access to that game instead of, I don't know, having a sale of $60 to $70 without counting DLC or premium editions. Again, it's a blunder, uh, because the numbers, the magnitude of numbers that you need in terms of active customers paying for that subscription will have to be way more than the at this moment Xbox Game Pass is. And basically you had to dominate the market in that sense, in that kind of subscription service, to, I don't know, be profitable. And then, because again we got the inflated production budgets of those games, especially from first party studios on Xbox, which has a lot of them. Plus the fact that you're going to pay initial fees for developers that are third parties, or not even parties under the umbrella of Xbox. You have to pay the initial fee for them, so you're already spending money upfront, uh, with a probability of the customers of that subscription service never going to see that game. Again, it's just, to a certain degree, is wasting money. In the long term, you're just bleeding money to a certain degree, if you don't have that huge user base for that subscription service, which is going to be a disaster, because to try and compensate that, you will always have to increase the price of the subscription, and then it will reach a point that the players will not have, given that we're talking about games, expendable income. The situation is not the best for expendable income competition there on that market, and people will not, or will cancel that subscription service, because it starts not to compensate paying a monthly fee to access maybe a couple of games that they are interested in. Yeah, I don't know where this is going. I don't know if maybe kind of a lifesaver might be the handheld there, to try and get a little bit more users there. But yeah, I'm not sure how this will go. And then we got also got the PlayStation Plus stuff there. It's a little bit expensive, but there is a good thing there, which, if not mistaken, the highest tier you can get free games monthly wise. That sometimes there is some games that you can get for free. At least that's my understanding. Again, I never managed to subscribe on any of those services. I'm not interested in that, but it seems to be a thing that can be of more value. And I think also Xbox, sorry, Game Pass. If you are with that service active, you can have access to some certain deals. Um, at least that's my perception. Again, my thing is, at least I'm very satisfied using Steam, getting access to playing games on the internet without paying extra. The fact that you have always some sales happening here and there, and plus the huge variety. I don't know how many magnitudes more than any kind of console library that you have there, with excellent games for cheaper. And again, um, I'm not sure how this is going to get around here, but yeah, this is what we're going to get for sure. I think after the summer that they will increase the prices before Christmas, I assume. But yeah, this is what I got here. I'm just going to wrap up with some gaming deals. We still have Bionic Bay for sale. A recent launch seems pretty good. This game, a puzzle game when you manipulate time and gravity. We got Children of Morta still on sale, 80% off. This one seems a pretty good one also. We got still Crypt Custodian for sale, 30% off. Also, Dave the Diver, 40% off at this moment in time. We got Death Stranding. Director's Cut is the way to go there. 60% off. Again, it's a no-brainer. It's a Kojima game for all intents and purposes, but yeah, there is some excellent game mechanics at play, and the stories can seem a little bit all over the place, but the themes are very interesting. Then you got Devil May Cry 5 is still on sale around a day or so, so 75% off. We got the same thing with Dredge, is still 50% in all the editions except for the complete one. We got Miasma Chronicles, which is kind of a spiritual successor of Mutineer Zero Road Waden. Seems pretty interesting. It seems at least at the same level of Mutineer Zero, so I think it's a good buy there. Nobody Wants to Die, 60% off, kind of detective game. Seems to have a positive feedback from everybody. and the setup seems very interesting also. We got Okami still on sale around a day or so until this deal is off, 50% off. We got Pacific Drive, 50% off on the deluxe edition. We got Planet of Lana. I do recommend this game, especially at this price point. It is a steal, 75% off. I think I bought it 50% off last time it was there. I did a gameplay series on that. If you're curious about it, you can check out the first episode to have an idea what this game is about. But I do recommend it. We got Resident Evil still on sale around a day or so. I will leave all the Resident Evil games Steam pages on the description below, so you can pick and choose and complete your collection. We got Silent Hill 2 remake is still on sale around a day or so, 40% off. We got the Callisto Protocol. I can recommend this at 85% off. Again, it's not Dead Space, it's Callisto Protocol, even though there might be some similarities there. But again, the story is more than serviceable, and the gameplay is can be challenging here and there. But I quite enjoyed it, and I can recommend at this price point. We got the Invincible still 45% off again, more narrative driven first person based on a sci-fi story of Stanislav Lu. And then lastly, we got Tomb Raider Definitive Survivor Trilogy. So all the free games, around 85% off, all of them, all free games there, with all the DLC associated with that. But yeah, I'll wrap up here with the plugging my Patreon as usual for extra support. Again, the extra support is more aligned for me to try and get around better storage solution so I can have backups of stuff that I do for my clients. And of course, some extra space on the videos that I do for the channel. And with all that said, I hope you have a wonderful day. I'll see you in the next one. So till then, Kunamy Master out.